Good morning to you all. This is really a vid following on from my comments of a couple of videos again where I have a go at the things which were very wrong within the two societies of those days and to do with membership numbers. Anyhow, the same day I looked through eBay and in it was these two books which I bought. They were reasonably priced actually. They're a bit of history I did not know anything about. Well, I say didn't know anything about. I knew the National Cactus Society was originally the Yorkshire Cactus Society, and getting hold of the first 6 volumes of the journal I thought was virtually impossible. But anyhow, these two books turned up on eBay. Pure fluke, I looked it up and I thought, yeah, I'm going to get these. They will only add to, I say, a vast stock of books I've got on the succulents. Quite a few books, I wouldn't say a vast amount. If you sort of compared my collection with, say, Gordon Rowley's, I would be a very small member, because Gordon had quite a collection. I don't know what happened to them. I think they were probably donated to the BCS. But anyhow, I got these. I've also got books on the GB, which reprinted some as well. But anyhow, I was very pleased to get these, and I was just hoping against hope that they were going to get through the post in good condition. Well, they arrived today in excellent condition, really well packed. I seem to be very lucky of stuff I've been getting of late. It has been really well packed. And I know these are not glass or plants, but they're still paper, cardboard and books. And yeah, they were in very good shape. I don't know who produced these. These are obviously, must have been brought out a few years ago. But it was an education. I am not a person for history, I must admit. And as regards history at school, it was the most boring lessons I ever heard. I was not the slightest bit interested in kings and queens. Bored me to tears. The only date I remember, apart from the Fire of London, is 1215, which I believe was Magna Carta, which signed by King John. And the only reason I know that date was 12:15. I look forward to every day. It was dinner time at school. Anyhow, enough of my ramblings about that. Let's have a little look at the early journal. This is the earliest one. As you can see, the Yorkshire Cactus Journal, number 1. And this was in March 1946. Now remember, the GB Society was founded in 1931. So the GB was obviously the older of the two. And interesting to see the connections between the two. I thought they were enemies virtually from the start, but I was a bit wrong there. Anyway, let's turn the pages. At the moment we're on looking at the Yorkshire. I must show you, which is I thought was very interesting. You've got officials of the Yorkshire Cactus Society, and one name stands out. E. Shirley, that's Ernie Shirley, and he was very much connected with the GB Society. He was obviously a very keen member. He's unfortunately no longer with us. Him and his wife were very, very keen members and they fought for the conservation of a lot of these plants. Particularly then plants were being imported from various countries, including Mexico and that. But yeah, it was well known, and I was quite impressed with that. It also has the Honour Secretary, Mr. H.M. Roan, Esquire. Now that was a gentleman that I met through one of the meetings, and I did mention this. He was sitting alongside Gordon Rowley, who you all know Gordon Rowley. I don't expect many of you remember Roan, H.M. Roan. But anyhow, he was sitting next to Gordon at this particular meeting. Don't ask me when it was a long time ago. And Roan boasted that he was, I think, number one on the membership numbers. And that made me very bitter because, as I said before, my number was taken from when I was a member of the National, which I did join, and not taken back to the GB Society, which I was a member since I was about 14, 15 as a junior member. My number was obviously lost. And I'm very annoyed about that. And okay, there's lots of stories about lists of would-be members being nicked. I'm afraid Roan's name comes up again. But as I say, this is hearsay from one or two of the perhaps founder members or the older members of the societies. I say societies as both of them, because when I knew them, the two societies run side by side. Friendly societies, when I say friendly, there was always that niggle between the two of them, and I never knew why. I think, as I said, I have now found out why. And I also knew the founder members of the GB Society, including Early Shirley and all the other ones, so it was quite good. Anyway, let's get back to the journal. Just randomly opening the pages, you'll see names down there which were still well known. In my days when I joined W.T. Neal and Company, they were the Lambs, or the Lambs took them over or something. Franklin Road, Worthing. There's also a bit of scandal there somewhere along the line, which I'm not going to go into. They're no longer about. We've also got a Mr. Bird, and I'm pretty sure he was a friend of Jack Brown. Jack Brown was one of the old timers as well, very knowledgeable, particularly in the other succulents, although he did have cacti. Here we see the original badge, which is very similar. It's the same badge as the National had, but on it was also the Yorkshire Cactus Society. It didn't last too long, the Yorkshire Society. It soon was changed. I haven't got to that part, but I will do. Another well-known name, Vera Higgins. I believe she lived in Croydon. Very well-known name. Once again, mainly with the other succulents. Another well-known name, Potting Cacti and Succulents by A. Balder. That's Arthur Balder. He was one of the founder members of the GB. He was virtually an expert at seed raising. He grew loads of mammillarias and a load of lithops from seed. Unfortunately, he is no longer with us. I knew Arthur very, very well. I didn't know he was in here as well. He obviously is. This is, as I say, an education to me. We keep seeing the name R.K. Bird. I'm pretty sure he was a friend of Jack Brown. Also a nice picture of a Fenestraria rhopalophila. Windowed plants, a little known form of plant life. Yeah, man, this was quite a few years ago. We've got E. Lamb there, it's Edgar Lamb. I wonder whether those greenhouses are still going. This is Glouse Even, Dublin. It's interesting to see what is still about. We've got the collections, the plants in there as well. Oh, we've got a couple of pictures here. This is one of the founder member, H.M. Roan. He was the one that sat down next to Gordon boasting he was number one. I see the name up there, Mr. Elaine White. White, Dyer and Sloane, that reminds me of. The two excellent editions covering Stapeliads and Euphorbias. Yeah, I've got those two books as well. I'm not boasting, but I had the chance of getting these through Cyril Parr, which done me a lot of favours. Another article by E. Shirley of the mammillarias. Anyway, I think that's all I'm going to say on this. Needless to say, a bit of history, and in 2 volumes, there's the other volume, which we can open up. It's now called the National, and the badge is the badge that we're familiar with. Obviously not the badge that the BCS uses now, which I think is a horrible badge, but anyway, that is my opinion. And not many people, I feel, would have known of the information that I'm showing you. I was lucky enough to get a hold of this book, or bound versions of the first edition of the Yorkshire Cactus Society and the National. So it's got a bit of history, it's got a bit of value. Even then they were talking about mealybugs, showing exactly what they look like. That was by Edward Elkin. Remember that name as well. We've got Flowering Aloes by Harry Hall. He used to be the curator, I believe, of the collection, I think in Manchester, but he moved off to South Africa. Expert on the aloes. Just more or less opening up the pages at anything. You've got your branches. It had quite a few branches. That's one thing about the National. They did produce a lot of branches. This was helped in more, say, recent years, going back a few years. Clive Innes down at Worthing, or near Worthing, he promoted the formation of a lot of branches. Some of the branches are no longer with us. Looking at the adverts in here, I'm just virtually just turning over and seeing what turns up. I can't give you every page one after the other. There's an article here about Mr. R. Kingbird by Gordon. I think he's talking about books. Books have always been worth having when it comes to the hobby. I'll be quite honest, I have not got any story books. When I say story books, I mean novels and stuff like that, which I was told when I was young, oh, you should read more books. Yeah, I did read books, technical books, books on cacti and succulents, books on tropical fish. Not a single storybook, I'm proud to say. I'm sorry, I'm not one of those persons that can sort of imagine myself in some of the other stories that went about. But history, yeah, was more interesting. Anyway, I can keep on turning pages and seeing what we've got. It's just nice to be able to see the stuff, and also the ways of keeping the mealybugs off. Got an advert here for Volk. That, I believe, was supposed to be quite good. But a lot of these have now been taken off the market. You've got Vera Higgins' name again down here on the President's page. She was obviously the President at one time. Yeah, you can see this Mr. Rome was quite a well-known character, and he done a lot of good for the society. As I said the other day, credit has to be given. I'm still in two minds, the story about the lists. There's obviously was something there, because only of recent years the two societies have decided to bury the hatchet, and they combined to make the BCS, or Cactus World as they call themselves now. Certainly a superb journal. Anyhow, that is all I've got to say on this. So I'm pleased to get a hold of these early journals, a bit of history I didn't know in a lot of cases. But there we go. Anyhow, thanks for putting up with my little ramblings and little anecdotes and little stories. If I've said anything wrong, please let me know. To me, it's history. It's not about kings and queens, which, as I said, bored me to tears. History, I believe, to be more than just kings and queens. It's about what has happened in the world. Inventions, medical discoveries. Okay, wars to a certain extent, but not exclusively kings and queens. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now. Thanks again for putting up with my little talks and ramblings, call them what you like, Will. Don't know what I'll put up next, depends what turns up. Thanks again for watching. Thank you.